As a premier community in Hampton Roads, James City County strives to maintain a high quality of life for all citizens through sound fiscal management and legislative actions. In an ongoing effort to increase transparency, your Board of Supervisors holds public meetings to garner citizen input before making important decisions. Here's tonight's meeting agenda. Stay tuned. The Board of Supervisors meeting will begin shortly.
Ready?
Yeah.
Call to order this meeting of the James City Service Authority Board of Directors for a regular meeting. Happy New Year, Mr. Powell.
Happy New Year.
Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Eisenhower. Here. Mr. McGlinnan.
Here.
Ms. Larson.
Here.
Mr. Hippel.
Here.
Ms. Sadler.
Here. Are there any presentations?
No, ma'am.
Public comment? Any speaker cards?
No speaker cards.
Consent calendar consists of minutes from the December 13th, 2022 regular meeting. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any public hearings?
No, ma'am.
Let's see, board considerations, contract award, $2,334,700, Central Well System Water Treatment Improvements for Corrosion Control. Mr. Powell.
Madam Chair, members of the board, in 2018, JCSA completed a corrosion control study that evaluated the central system's effectiveness of its current water treatment processes. The study recommended adding corrosion inhibitor to all our central system well facilities. This is a process which results in coating of the lines that will then prevent the corrosion. Currently, corrosion inhibitor is only used at the Five Forks Water Treatment Plant. The engineering designed to implement the corrosion control treatment recommendations was completed last year. 2 firms submitted responses to an invitation for bids. The scope of work consisted of installing new equipment at the 7 central system well sites, including chemical feed pumping skids, tanks, and piping, and modifying existing buildings, sites, industrial controls, electrical systems, and plumbing for the new chemical feed systems. Shaw Construction was determined to be the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, and they have successfully completed work for the Service Authority in the past. The original estimate for this project was developed prior to the pandemic. Since then, construction material costs and the cost of labor have increased significantly. This resolution awards the contract in the amount of $2,334,700 to Shaw Construction and authorizes a budget transfer of $1,084,700 from the Five Forks Water Treatment Plant Lower Potomac Wells 4 and 5 budget to the Corrosion Control Project. The Lower Potomac 4 and 5 project is on hold pending resolution of an alternative water supply and the outcome of our negotiations on our groundwater withdrawal permit. Staff recommends approval of the resolution.
Any questions, discussion, or can I have a motion for approval?
Move the adoption of the contract award.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Ms. Sadler?
Aye. Board requests and directives. Anybody?
The only thing I wanted to bring up was the project that we were finishing in White Oaks and Indigo Park and places like that. Our conversation earlier today, I had a constituent who was concerned about the roads because they have to be paved once the project is done. But I gather we are complete now with pretty much all the work, and we're just awaiting weather for the final top off of all the.
That's correct. I've received several inquiries about the paving in that neighborhood over the last few weeks. The White Oaks project is almost complete. There are a few ancillary items to complete, but the major thing that's still left is there is some road paving that's still required in Phase 3 and all of Phase 4 of that Oaks project.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could just make a comment. Mr. Powell, I hope you'll pass along to the employees of the Service Authority our appreciation for the great work that they did, especially after the very cold weather right around Christmas time. It meant that workers had to take time off from their families and their vacations and holiday period to work in very challenging conditions, and we really do appreciate the work that they've done.
Thank you, Mr. McGlinnan. I'll definitely pass that along.
I was just going to say that I had received an inquiry which you had helped answer regarding the paving, and you did say that you felt that the contractor had been responsive, and, there's not a lot we can do about the weather. We have to wait until we have a certain temperature for quite some time. So I appreciate you answering that. I want to echo Supervisor McGlinnan's remarks as well. And then just thank you. It was an honor being the chair the past year. Thank you for all the work that you've done and everything that your employees have done as well. Thank you.
Ms. Larson.
Good. Manager's update, please.
Just a couple of things. I don't normally spend a lot of time talking about the dashboard, but this one does represent the 6-month, the halfway mark of the fiscal year. I just wanted to note everything is on trend with the exception of tap fees. And if you notice, we are behind on the tap fees. That's been a trend really for the last 3 years. I doubt that we will achieve the estimate for this year given how far behind we are on tap fees right now. And as we are starting to work on developing our budget for next year, I think we will probably reduce our tap fee estimate pretty significantly for next year. So that was the only thing I really wanted to highlight on the dashboard. The only other thing I have, we've talked about wrapping up the White Oaks project. As we're wrapping that project up, we're beginning to start the Kingswood project. The contractor is starting to stage there now, and we anticipate that construction will begin the week of January 23rd. So that construction on that project should be starting very shortly.
And Ms. Larson, I want to thank you for your service as chair last year. Tough role to follow here. With that, I'll look for a motion for adjournment until 5 p.m. on February 14th, 2023 for the regular meeting. Mr.
So
Powell?
moved.
Thank you.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Ms. Sadler?
Aye. We're adjourned.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll call this meeting of the James City County Board of Supervisors regular meeting to order on January 10th, 2023. And Ms. Stevens, will you call the roll, please, sir?
Yes, sir. Ms. Sadler?
Here.
Ms. Sadler represents the Stonehouse District. Mr. Eisenhower?
Here.
Mr. Eisenhower represents the Jamestown District. Mr. McGlinnan?
Here.
Mr. McGlinnan represents the Roberts District. Ms. Larson?
Here.
Ms. Larson represents the Berkeley District and is vice chair to the board. Mr. Hippel?
Here.
Mr. Hippel represents the Powhatan District and is chair to the board. And sitting to my left is Adam Kinsman, County Attorney. I'm Scott Stevens, County Administrator, and it's my pleasure to be clerk to the board.
Thank you, sir. All right, note for the audience, the application of SUP-2022-00021 Hicks Island Road Tourism Home has requested a postponement until May 9th meeting. So if anybody, we'll open it, but if anybody plans on speaking, they can speak tonight or speak on the 9th. And if they want to hold their comments to the 9th, then we'll hear it all at that time. But we will open it and leave it open. So next will be a moment of silence, and after the moment of silence, we'll have our pledge leader. And our pledge leader tonight fell ill on us and was not able to make it, and Mr. Jay Everson agreed to come up and do our pledge. He said he would hopefully remember the words as he went on.
And he is from the Stonehouse District, I might add.
I'm from the Stonehouse District. Let's have a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll move into public comments. Our first speaker card, Peg Borman.
Good afternoon.
Good
Afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Stevens, Mr. Kinsman, Mr. Purse, and to ladies and gentlemen. I'm Peg Borman, and I live in downtown Lightfoot on 17 Settlers Lane. And I'm very happy to be here this new year. I was down and out with the crud for long enough, and I hope nobody else has got it. So, but I think everybody's been sick. But I want to thank you for having me here today. I come before you with one more chance to talk a little bit about trash. And if you look around the county, it looks like it's exploded somehow or other, like with the new year or the holidays or something. I can't figure out exactly what's happening, but it's an unsightly nuisance, and it's a blight, not to mention it's unhealthy. But you all know what I'm talking about, so it's, I guess that's why it's called trash. But, and it's all of our problems. It's not just one person or one committee or whatever. It's everybody's problem. And what are we doing about it? Well, some of us complain. Some of us ignore it. Also, we just hope it'll go away. But there's so many things that we can do about it. If it's in your yard, you can pick it up and dispose of it as necessary. If it's in your neighbor's yard, well, you look at it, but there are some things that you can do to help alleviate that if there's a problem. Offer to help them if nothing else, but there are other ways to do that. But hopefully they'll take care of them also. There are other solutions to what's along the highways. We leave that to VDOT, but also we have not volunteers. We do pay for several of the people to pick it up, but what about that illegal dumping that's out there that we don't always see? It's kind of hidden in the trees or wherever they can get away with it. But you can call somebody to pick it up or take care of it or whatever, or you can clean it up yourself. We've had a lot of people that go out and clean up these dumps. But the best solution to me is to prevent it from accumulating and occurring at the same time. You can always carry a container or a bag or something in your car or in your vehicle. And please don't throw it out the window. That's what's causing all this to happen, to look so bad. And we can help educate others. And but some of the main things that you can do is become a concerned citizen and participate whenever possible. The Clean County has many opportunities for this, and one of those is the Litter League. These kits are available at the local libraries or at the office on Tuning Road, and you can check them out and clean up some areas there, and that helps a whole lot too. We've got a lot of events scheduled with the Clean County Commission. We just had a meeting and established our year of activities. So one of those events is scheduled for the April the 15th. That's our annual spring litter cleanup. We're going to do it a little bit different this year, but I won't elaborate on that yet because I'm just hoping it all goes off well. But you can participate in many ways with that. Just start identifying where you think that we need to be. And March 25th is a great American cleanup. So I'm not going to take any more of your time because I see I'm running out. But working together, we can, with a fully staffed commission like we have now, and with fully staffed staff members, we hope to really do big and better things this year. So Happy New Year for 2023, and thank you for hearing me.
You. Speaker?
No, sir.
No more speakers? All right, I'll go ahead and close that, and we'll move into consent calendar, and there's nothing on for the consent calendar today. Next thing we'll do, move into a public hearing, and our PC rep, Mr. Polster. Welcome, sir. Thank you for coming and spending time with us. And our first public hearing is our pre-budget hearing for FY 2024. Sharon? Welcome.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the Board of Supervisors. The purpose of this public hearing is to invite comments and suggestions from our citizens for the upcoming budget cycle. The comments and the suggestions will help guide staff in preparing a budget proposal for your review later this spring. No board action is required at this time. Thank you.
Hearing, any speaker cards? Jay Everson, welcome again, sir.
Jay Everson, 6923 Chancery Lane in Colonial Heritage, ably represented by Mrs. Sadler. On the pre-budget, I thought it was interesting that you're having a problem with the tap fees, because I guess there's not that many new houses. And the Planning Commission recently had a presentation indicating that the growth projections were probably going to be less than we anticipated in our comprehensive plan of 2045. Which brings me to the issue that seems to never go away, and that's, of course, the 10th Elementary School. I know that this board has been steadfast in its opposition to it, but I would request that you take it off the CIP so the Planning Commission won't waste any of its time talking about something which you all have apparently agreed that you're not going to do. The second thing is that on the Jamestown cafeteria expansion, whatever that's going to cost now, because I know these costs have been escalating, I know that's on the current one for this year. I would ask you also to remove that, because the fact is that if we were to redistrict the high schools, that we would not have an overcrowding problem at Jamestown High. And the school board, for whatever reason, has chosen not to do that, but doesn't mean that we have to spend several $1 million because they don't want to redistrict, particularly with the fact that the Lafayette rehab, which I support, will increase the capacity of school by, I guess they're now saying 250, a year ago was 200. So that in that school is already under-enrolled according to the sports league, because it's a lower sports league than the other two because of less enrollment, that the Jamestown High cafeteria expansion, I would ask that you take that off of the CIP so the Planning Commission doesn't waste its time doing something that the school board has refused to do, which is redistrict, and I don't think we should be spending money on stuff because they decide they don't want to do something. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you for your time.
Speaker cards? Okay, with no other speaker cards, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And at this time, there's no action required by the board for tonight. Next, we'll go into AFD-22-0015, 999 Jolly Pond Road, Cranston Mill Pond, AFD addition. John, welcome, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Mr. Hunter Taylor has applied to enroll approximately 169.15 acres of land located at 999 Jolly Pond Road into the Cranston's Pond AFD. The parcel is zoned A1, General Agricultural, and designated rural lands on the 2045 Comprehensive Plan land use map. The parcel is located within 1 mile of the core of the Cranston's Pond AFD. A single-family dwelling has been constructed on the property. However, the property remains largely undeveloped. A 30-acre portion of the property was timbered this past spring and summer, and a forest management plan has been prepared for the property to guide future timbering activities. The AFD Advisory Committee voted 7-0 to recommend approval of the application at its October 20th, 2022 meeting. And the Planning Commission voted 6-0 to recommend approval of the application at its December 7th, 2022 meeting. Staff finds that the proposed addition meets state and local requirements for inclusion in the AFD and recommends that the Board of Supervisors approve this application subject to the proposed conditions. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have for staff. Thank you.
How many acres again?
169.15.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Good. Mr. Polster. Welcome, sir.
Well, Mr. Chairman, good evening. And on behalf of my colleagues on the Planning Commission, we'd like to wish you all a Happy New Year. And if by chance any of you bought a Mega Millions ticket, we wish you all the best tonight. There was no questions for staff and no public comment speakers and no discussions amongst the commissioners on this issue. The Planning Commission voted 6-0 to recommend approval of AFD 220015 to the board, and I would be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. And the applicant wish to speak, or do we have any speaker cards? None on that, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on that. And I'll look to the board for directions.
Motion to approve?
Motion for approval. Ms. Stevens, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. McGlinnan.
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower.
Aye.
Ms. Sadler.
Aye.
Ms. Larson.
Aye.
Mr. Hippel.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, next, number 3, ordinance to permit use of golf cart on public highways and Powhatan shores. Chief, how you doing today, sir? Thank you.
Good evening,
Evening.
members of the board, Mr. Chairman. In 2007, the board adopted an ordinance permitting neighborhoods to apply to have public highways in neighborhoods designated for golf cart use. To date, 5 neighborhoods, Chickahominy Haven, Landfall at the James, Christian Sand, Cypress Point, and Elmwood have had roads so designated. Recently, the homeowners from Powhatan Shores have applied pursuant to Section 13-60 of the county code, requesting that the board designate streets in their neighborhood for golf cart use. Following careful consideration of this request and the results of a subsequent traffic study conducted by the police department, staff feels that golf carts may be safely accommodated along the public highways in Powhatan Shores. These roads would include Constance Avenue, Morgan Drive, Branscombe Boulevard, Discovery Lane, Godspeed Lane, Lavelle Court, Lands End Drive, and Hiawatha Court. Signage would be required at the intersections of Neckaland and Constance, Morgan, and Branscombe to warn drivers to expect golf carts and warn golf cart operators not to travel onto Neckaland Road. Staff recommends adoption of the attached ordinance designating certain roads in Powhatan Shores for golf cart use, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for the chief?
The only one question I have, I remember when we first started doing this, and we have added communities. Have we had any instances of issues or problems with the use of golf carts in any of these communities, or from a police standpoint?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Okay.
It actually seems that the calls for service in reference to golf carts declined in a couple of places when they were authorized to use golf carts.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Thank you, chief. All right, let's see. Go ahead and open up the public hearing and look for our first speaker. Sean Sweeney. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker, members of the board. I'm Sean Sweeney. I live at 124 Discovery Lane in Powhatan Shores. I'm a member at large of the HOA and an attorney here in town. I'm not here to give a speech. I'm just here to answer questions if you have any. Thank you.
Questions? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other speakers? Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and look for the board for direction.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the adoption of the ordinance.
Thank you, sir. Roll call.
Ms. Larson.
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan.
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower.
Aye.
Ms. Sadler.
Aye.
Mr. Hippel.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, SUP-22-0021 8401 Hicks Island Road Tourist Home. And there'll be no staff report on this evening, and the no PC report. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. And if you speak tonight on this item, you won't be able to speak when it comes back up for the May 9th. So we're going to go ahead and open this up. And are there anybody that wish to speak tonight? Okay, we'll go ahead and keep this open until the May 9th deadline. And we'll go on to number 5, SUP-22-0018 5477 Mooretown Road, Place Pavilion, and Farley Center Edition. Ben, how you doing, sir?
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Ms. Samantha Stacchetti has applied on behalf of the Pavilion at Williamsburg Place Incorporated for a special use permit to allow for the expansion of the existing psychiatric and rehabilitation facility. The subject property is located at 5477 Mooretown Road, zoned M1 Limited Business Industrial, classified as limited industry on the 2045 Comprehensive Plan, and located inside the primary service area. The proposed expansion to the facility would add 41 inpatient beds, 10 intermediate care beds, and 28 outpatient beds, remove 4 previously approved residential visitor units, and add new office space for staff and expand the indoor and outdoor dining and kitchen facilities. This expansion would result in the facility having a total of 98 inpatient beds, 40 intermediate care beds, and 76 outpatient beds. According to the applicant, the expansion addresses the increasing demand for the need for mental health care and services in the community, in large part to the ongoing effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Staff finds that this proposal is compatible with surrounding zoning and development and is generally consistent with the 2045 Comprehensive Plan and Zoning Ordinance. At the December 7th, 2022 regular meeting, the Planning Commission voted 6-0 to recommend approval of this SUP request to the Board of Supervisors subject to the proposed conditions. As such, staff recommends the Board of Supervisors approve this application subject to the proposed conditions. I am happy to answer any questions you may have, and the applicant is available as well.
Questions? Thank you. Holster, welcome back again, sir.
Outside of the applicant speaking during the public comment period, there were no other speakers or discussions among the commissioners. Both staff and the applicant agreed to an addition to condition 4 that besides a minimum of 50% of the trees within the landscape buffer shall be evergreen, it would also state that a majority of trees, shrubs, or ornamental grass supplemented planting shall be native species to meet the requirements of Section 2496 of the County Code. Commissioners voted 6-0 to recommend approval to the Board of SUP 220018 with the addition of that condition 4. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead and open up the public hearing. First speaker, Samantha Stacchetti. Welcome, Samantha.
Good evening. And try to chew gum and walk at the same time, driving the clicker and going through my PowerPoint, so bear with me. Good evening, my name is Samantha Stacchetti. I'm a senior land use planner at Hunton Andrews Kurth. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, the Pavilion at Williamsburg Place, a subsidiary of Summit BHC. Summit BHC is a national behavioral health provider headquartered in Franklin, Tennessee, and was established to develop and operate a network of leading behavioral and mental health centers throughout the country. Summit's primary focus is on the provision of psychiatric services and substance use disorder treatments within a flexible and dynamic continuum of care. With the mission to improve the lives it touches, Summit is nationally renowned with 32 locations in 19 states. Summit is particularly proud of its recent launch of the Tactical Recovery Program here locally, which is designed to help our active duty service members and veterans recover from PTSD, mental health, and substance use disorders. Summit acquired the existing psychiatric and rehabilitation facility in 2021 from Diamond Healthcare and is here before you now proposing a modest expansion in order to accommodate the quickly growing number of people experiencing mental health crises and substance use disorders, particularly since COVID-19. Once implemented, the expansion, as detailed by staff, will be accommodated within the existing buildings on campus and in new building additions that I'll walk you through now. I'll call your attention to the screen, and a green box will pop up as I go through each of the expansions. The 41 inpatient psychiatric beds, which have been licensed by the state, will be housed within a new wing being added onto the pavilion, and the remaining beds will be located within the existing building. The 10 intermediate care substance abuse beds will be provided within an addition to the existing Farley Center building. 8 of the 28 outpatient beds will be provided within the 2 existing Farley Center buildings, with the balance of the beds being provided within a new building. In addition to expanding the number of beds, the applicant seeks to improve the campus by enclosing an outdoor dining terrace located off of the Pavilion building in order to increase the size of the kitchen and dining facility. Create a new outdoor dining terrace off the newly expanded kitchen and dining facility. Create a new courtyard at the Pavilion. Remove the existing roof structure off of one existing covered porch. Enclose one existing covered porch, and adding a small expansion to the first floor and a second-story addition to an already approved wellness building to accommodate additional administrative offices, and providing the associated infrastructure improvements to the internal roadways, parking spaces, stormwater management, and internal underground utilities. As noted in the turn lane warrant report submitted as a part of this application and confirmed in staff's report, the traffic generated by the proposed expansion on Mooretown Road would be minimal, since the vast majority of traffic generated occurs within off-peak hours at shift change, prior to 7 a.m. and after 7 p.m. The applicant's proposal meets the intent of the comprehensive plan guidance for the property, and even with the expansion, the property will have few impacts on the community, and any such impacts have been appropriately mitigated as confirmed by staff in the staff report and memorialized in the development conditions. For these reasons, and with Planning Commission's and staff's recommendations of approval, the applicant respectfully requests the county's support for this special use permit. I am joined tonight by several members of the project team and representatives of Summit to help answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other speaker cards? No other speaker cards, so I'll go ahead and close this public hearing and look to the board for a direction or a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I just mentioned that I did have the opportunity to speak with the applicant's team earlier this month, just to learn a bit more about this needed facility, and I intend to support the proposal.
And I did have an email exchange with Mr. Tingle. We talked about some of the traffic issues that are of concern, and Mr. Holt has confirmed for me that the fix that VDOT has proposed for the intersection of Airport Road and Mooretown Road is fully funded. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take. I think it's going to be, 2 to 3 years before we actually see the actual construction. But I think that this project has a minimal impact on the already existing traffic issue, and that should be rectified to a certain degree in the next few years. So I fully intend to support this.
And I met with the team as well, and I'm just getting clarification on a few things and a few items in there. And it was a very good meeting, and they were very attentive to my needs and wants of what was going on in there. So since this is in my district, then I'd like to move this forward and make a motion for approval. Mr. Stevens, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. McGlinnan.
Aye.
Ms. Larson.
Aye.
Ms. Sadler.
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower.
Aye.
Mr. Hippel.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Number 6, Z-22-0003.8005 and 8009 Hankins Industrial Park Road. Terry, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening to the members of the board. Mr. Bruce Daniels of Daniels Welding and Tires has applied to rezone 2 parcels of land totaling approximately 3 acres from M2 General Industrial to M1 Limited Business and Industrial. The properties are located at 8005 and 8009 Hankins Industrial Park Road. Both properties are designated general industry on the comprehensive plan land use map and are located inside the primary service area. The properties are served by public water and sewer. The proposal is to allow for vehicle repair and service with major repair limited to a fully enclosed building and screened from adjacent properties. The proposal is to allow for the continued use of 2 local businesses that perform vehicle service and repair. Vehicle service and repair is not permitted nor specially permitted in the M2 zoning district. Staff finds this rezoning would not result in any anticipated negative impacts that would need to be mitigated. Staff finds the rezoning consistent with the adopted 2045 Comprehensive Plan, zoning ordinance, and with surrounding zoning and development. Staff recommends approval of this application. At its December 7th meeting, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the application by a vote of 6-0. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and the applicant is also available. Thank you.
Questions? Thank you. Mr. Polster.
This is going to sound like a record again. There were no questions for staff, no public comment speakers, and there was no discussion among the commissioners. The Planning Commission voted 6-0 to recommend approval of Z-22003 to the board, and I would be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions? Spent the whole night with no questions. That's all right.
That's unusual.
Thank you all very
Off to a
much.
good
Thank
start.
you, sir. All right, I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing, and if the applicant wishes to speak, any speaker cards? Okay, applicant wishes to speak? No, sir. Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and
Mr. Chairman, if I may just
sir.
mention that I have had the opportunity to take advantage of the services provided by Mr. Daniel, and both recognize that his operation is very consistent with the surrounding properties, and it's an excellent service that's provided to the community, so appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Same thing. I have had the opportunity to provide some business to Mr. Daniels at his location up there, and I found that is a great benefit to our community. So I think I can adequately represent my district in voting for it. So.
Well, since it's my district, I'd like to make the motion to approve, please.
Okay, and I want to, before we get to the vote, I want to say that I remember when Bruce looked at this land and decided to build that many years ago, and he's been an outstanding business person for the community, and Bruce has done a wonderful job as far as everything for it's amazing what he's done for the volunteer fire department. Just that alone is amazing. And when he was writing the other piece, he found out that there may be a compliance issue. He came to the county, what can I do? What do I need to do? And he was in compliance, but the other piece of property wasn't. So we came up with a idea through staff's hard work and all that. How do we make this work for both staff and Bruce? And Bruce has been very good as far as working with staff and make sure everything was done and getting staff out there. And so Bruce, thank you much. Appreciate all your hard work. Appreciate you being a good citizen for James City County. Roll call, please. Yes, sir. Roll call.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Ms. Sadler?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Mr. McGlennon?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, board considerations. H, number 1, house voucher, house choice voucher, administrative plan. Rebecca, welcome.
Can I just
Oh,
say
wait a minute.
something
Kenneth,
while
you're
Mr.
on.
Denny's walking to the podium? Just want to be very clear. Landfall was mentioned as a golf cart community. It has not been approved as such yet. They have applied, but I just don't, just in case anyone from Landfall is rushing out tonight to buy a golf cart, we just want to be clear.
I'm getting my card over there.
Well, yeah, so anyway, so sorry, Mr. Denny, but felt it needed to be said.
Mr. Denny, how you doing, sir?
Very good. Good evening,
Good evening.
Chairman Hippel and members of the board. Revised administrative plan for the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program has been prepared by the Social Services Housing Unit. Public housing agencies are required to adopt an administrative plan which states local policies on matters for which federal law and housing and urban development regulations provide discretion to the public housing agency. Revisions to the administrative plan are necessary to incorporate and respond to recent changes in federal policies and regulations related to operation and funding of the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Staff recommends that the Board of Supervisors adopt the revised administrative plan, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions?
Mr. Denny, the only question I have, it seemed to me that all of this is basically bringing the our plan into conformance with the federal requirements.
Exactly.
Any others? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, I have a motion from the board.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to move the adoption of the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan.
Thank you, sir. Poll, please.
Mr. McGlinnan.
Aye.
Ms. Larson.
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower.
Aye.
Ms. Sadler.
Aye.
Mr. Hippel.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, board requests and directives.
Well, I'm in the hot seat now, right?
Yes, ma'am.
First to go?
Yes, indeed.
Well, I'm looking forward to a productive year with my colleagues as we continue to serve the citizens of James City County. To start with, Mr. Stevens, do you happen to have, if you don't, you can provide it whenever it's available, an approximate amount of what now is funded from the state that goes straight to the schools? And I believe it used to be pass-through money would show up in our budget and then we would appropriate. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I don't know that I have the total number, but the state sales tax for education that used to come through the county budget and city as well, and then we would pass it through to the school division. That number in the school division's budget for FY23 is $15.8 million.
Thank you. Somebody had asked me that. I was just curious. And I was just hoping that somebody might be able to contact VDOT. God bless you, Peg. Because it looks like trash trucks have blown up all over from Croker all the way to Stonehouse and down through Centerville, especially close to, what's the elementary school right there? Is that DJ? It's horrible. I mean, it's not just like a McDonald's cup. It's volumes of trash. It's horrible. So I would hope that we could get VDOT out there before the poor children have to go out there and schlep that stuff all the way to the dump. It's crazy, the amount of trash that's out there. And thank you for what you do to constantly talk trash here. We appreciate your trash talk. I'm receiving, and I'm experiencing myself, an increased amount, Mr. McGlennon and I were talking about this evening, of complaints about Verizon. I don't know what they're doing, but I can walk from one end of my house to the other and calls are dropping. Never used to happen. I don't know what these upgraded, high-tech, special things they're doing, but they ain't working. So I don't know if somebody could contact them, because quite frankly, I'm not in the mood for it anymore, and find out what in the world's going on, and if it's going to require citizens having to buy special equipment just to make their calls work, as we talked about. I don't know of anybody that's interested in that, myself included. People are about up to here with it, quite frankly. Don't mean to sound grumpy, but gets tiresome when you're, it's bad when you're going down 199. You know exactly where it's going to drop. You're like, hang on a minute, let me get past this little corner, and it'll pick back up again. I mean, it's an ongoing issue. So I don't know what it is they're doing, but they need to change it or fix it or something. And then on a little personal note, if I could have just 10 seconds of personal time. Just wanted to let everyone know that after communicating with my family and after prayerful consideration, I've decided that I'm not going to be seeking re-election this year. But I would like for everybody to stay tuned to our local news outlets for some exciting updates that'll be coming out. So with that, I pass it to you, sir.
I hope everyone had a good holiday season. My comment is a little more on the somber side. Over the Christmas holidays, a friend of my daughter's, who was a co-teacher with her up at Tawano, who is now a teacher down at, I believe, Laurel Lane, lost her eldest son to meningitis. Joshua Peck was 10 years old. You might have seen his obituary on the front page of the Virginia Gazette. And it hit very close to home. So I hope everyone keeps the family in your hearts and prayers. And I think they're going to have as outlined in the paper, there'll be a celebration of life for Joshua. But that was one of the hard things about going from 2022 to 2023 as we made the transition without him.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, let me congratulate you on your election as chair and Ms. Larson as vice chair of the Board of Supervisors. I know that you'll have a great year and look forward to working with you in that. Let me begin by making sure that I retain domestic tranquility by pointing out that the Master Gardeners of James City County and Williamsburg are holding a free hands-on on-site instruction in pruning that will take place in the next few weeks. If you are interested in participating, and there are lots of spaces available for folks who are interested in learning how to prune their trees and shrubs to keep their yards healthy and beautiful, they can simply go to jccwmg.org and sign up at that location for one of the sessions. Let me also then just mention a couple of other things. In one of my last actions as the chair of the board for 2022 into the early part of 2023, I did communicate the county's sympathy to Mayor Jones in Newport News for the incident at Rich Neck Elementary School, and want to express every hope for the swift recovery of Ms. Swern in her situation and for more effective efforts for us all to deal with the outrageous problems of violence in society today. I also did want to mention that in relation to Supervisor Sadler's comments about Verizon, I did communicate with Mr. Ogburn, who came to us recently from Verizon, the concerns of some of my constituents about their problems with Verizon. And I will say that while I don't have a final resolution to this, he was very prompt in response and with a promise to look into what is actually causing the problem and what kind of remedies might be available. And then finally, if I can just take a moment to thank my colleagues for their hard work, dedication, collaboration on accomplishing a great deal during the last year. It was a great honor for me to be elected to serve as chair of the James City County Board of Supervisors with Ms. Sadler as vice chair, and we accomplished a number of great things. We helped to protect our rural lands. We provided about $10 million in tax relief. We saw the opening of Skiffs Creek Connector and other transportation improvements. We brought back the National Night Out so that citizens could appreciate the work of our public safety officers. We approved a school contract. We approved a natural resources asset inventory, and we planned for the expenditure of a number of funds that are available to us to improve our infrastructure and to improve programs for our citizens. Those are just a few of the highlights of a year that I think was exceptionally successful, and that success was largely due to the collaborative spirit of not only the members of the board, but a dedicated, hardworking, and highly professional staff, and a citizenry that appreciates the quality of services that they receive and that have high standards that they want to continue to see us advance. So thank you very much for that opportunity.
And thank you for your leadership over the past year, and you as well, Ms. Sadler, much appreciated. I have to second, third, fourth you on Verizon, and I realize that gentleman said to call, but I mean, I feel like I would just be on the phone with him all day long because it is just, and why I bring it up is, yes, true, if I'm not in certain areas. I bring it up because to me it's a safety concern because so many of our citizens have ditched their home phones and they rely solely on their cellular phones. And if they're not working in case of an emergency, it's just very worrisome. And the service is definitely, I don't know if it's the usage. I don't know what the issue is, but there's definitely an issue. The other thing I just would like to take a moment is just to remind people about spam calling. It is on, and it's always an uptick around the holidays. It is, I read the other day, it is again on the uptick. They live for the vulnerable. People who may not realize that Dominion is not going to call you and tell you that they're about to cut your power, or your bank isn't going to call and ask for your social security number or anything like that. Please be very vigilant about who you give your information to. It's very important, and you can have your financial information and your financial picture change in a matter of minutes. So just be very careful. Certainly my sympathy to the Peck family. That was terrible. I have to follow up about the trash. I had to reach out to Mr. Stevens, I believe it was on New Year's Eve, because there was a bag of trash that had not been closed, that had fallen out of someone's vehicle, that was all over Route 5. And it was unsightly. I mean, it was everywhere. And I said, what can we do? Because we're not, can VDOT come out? I doubt it. It's the 31st of December. But I see all kinds of things around our area that I'm pretty sure when you get to your destination, you might realize is not in the back of your vehicle. So it would be much appreciated if you could come back and pick it up, because it is your tax dollars. We are paying additional money to have people come out and pick up trash because the trash is such a problem in this area. So, if think about that when you talk to us about tax dollars, because we have such an issue, we have to spend additional funds because VDOT just can't keep up with it. So it's a real issue here. Very much appreciate you and the group that you have and everything that you do. So just take a couple of personal things if I could. I hesitate to mention special days because I'm going to miss a special day. But yesterday was National Law Enforcement Day, so I want to take that opportunity to thank all of the law enforcement officers here in James City County that serve our citizens so well. And we're a busier department than we were a year ago, 2 years ago. And I'm a proud mom of a female officer who works very hard up in Arlington County. Thank you. Thank you. And there just takes a special kind of people, whatever type of first responder you are, that they're willing to lay it out there for the citizens of this county. I just appreciate it, and I appreciate my daughter as well. So thank you. And then on another note, on just personal news, and I could be embarrassing, but my son got engaged over the Christmas holidays, and I've been waiting 6 years for this. So you know what? I'm going to take a minute up here to say congratulations to Rob and Ellie. And then there'll be lots of time between now and December 31st. But in light of your announcement this evening, Ms. Sadler, I don't know that everybody realizes that not long after Ms. Sadler joined this board, she suffered a personal loss of her son-in-law, and left her daughter a widow and with 2 young children. And Ms. Sadler and her husband stepped in and have helped raise those 2 children, helped support her daughter while she went back to school to become a dental hygienist so that she could support her 2 children. And she's this job. It may seem easy, but there's a lot of time that people put into this. And so to do that on top of having to help your daughter and in many ways, and also your aging parents, and it's just been something to see. So I thank you for your time and your service to this county and to your family. So that's all.
Very good. And I'll echo the same comments. Thank you for everything you've done, and through all the ups and downs in your life, you've always stayed steady with the board. So thank you very much. That takes a lot. It's a tough job when everything's going smooth. When you have the other things in life, which everyone has, but it makes it that much harder to stay focused. Thank you. You've done a great job. Verizon, I'm on board with all of you. My gracious, I don't know if they've got too many people on the network or what, or they've got to upgrade, but they've got to do something because this is getting ridiculous. I turned my phone in and got another one because I thought it was the phone. Now the new one's doing the same thing. So it's not the phone. So they can't tell you, well, this is the third one since the nonsense has been going on trying to fix this issue because I use it a lot for business. We had a power outage at Christmas. A lot of people were affected. Dominion did a wonderful job getting everybody back up. We were only out 9 hours and then we're back up and running and it just makes you appreciate that much more being able to turn on that switch when you need to. So, John, thank you very much for your dedication, your hard work as chair this year, and Sue for your dedication as vice chair. Y'all did a wonderful job, and what you read, we've accomplished a ton of stuff, and so hopefully we'll be able to accomplish a ton more as we go through this next year. And it's just nice to see the board just raise that level up for the citizens every year. And, you know, I've said it more than one time. So we're a mix on this board up here, and it's amazing how well we work together. We have our own opinions. We have our own thoughts. We have our times to go, they done lost their mind. But we always come together and figure out how to get it a better product out for the citizens. So that says a lot for this board. And we get a lot of support, a ton of support from your staff. I want to thank your staff too for all the hard work, because we can call them at any time and say, hey, I'll call Paul sometimes on a Saturday and I say, you're not supposed to pick up the phone. Well, I knew you needed something. I said, no, don't pick up the phone. I'll leave you a message. But he still continues to pick up that phone. My vice chair and I were able to meet with some of the people that came out last meeting talking about raises and that sort of thing with the school. We had a great time, had coffee. I'm glad they took us up on the fact of, hey, why don't you, if you have an issue, instead of coming up and getting mad at the pulpit, which we can't do anything right here in the meeting, let's sit down for a cup of coffee. And they took that, and we sat down for a cup of coffee. And I want to thank you for your hard work and coming to that meeting as well, and your dedication, because we had a great meeting, got a lot of things out as far as who knew what happened, what this and that and all. So I think it went very well. You know, we can't get everything, but we can work together to get it a little bit better. And that's what we said we were going to do at that meeting. And we reinforced that during our meeting the other day. Let's see, I think that is all I have. Meeting with this. Yep, that's all I have. Sir, I'm going to turn it over to you for your county administrator's report.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I do want to say congratulations to both you and Ms. Larson. I did enjoy working with Mr. Glenn and Ms. Sadler as well, and we'll continue that relationship just in a little different role. But I just wish everybody a happy new year. Look forward to working with you and keeping us moving forward. So I'll close at that.
Thank you. All right. No closed session, so hold on. I got a little cheat sheet for our adjournment. Our adjournment is until 8:30 a.m. on January 19th, 2023 for the VACO Local Government Day at Virginia State Capitol, 100 Bank Street, Richmond. May I have a motion
So
for the
moved.
adjournment for that? All right. Roll call.
Ms. Sadler?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Mr. McGlennon?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Mr. Hill?
Aye.
Motion carries.